Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing the anaerobic natural processed Colombia Inmaculada Eugenioides from Onyx Coffee Lab. And there's the box right there. And of course, this is the third and final part of Onyx's Rare Varieties box set series, which featured reviews on the Sudan Rume and the Geisha. So if you haven't checked those videos out already, then check them out, as we'll be kind of comparing and contrasting those coffees with this one throughout this video, as well as kind of give an overall impression of the box set as a whole at the end of this video. Just like with the other ones, we discussed the information that was provided in the box set from Onyx and on the variety, and we'll be doing so with this variety as well. So it is described as, just one cup of this coffee was enough to inspire a journey to South America to discover this species for ourselves. Legend and speculation buzz about this coffee. For starters, this is not even the same species as most of the coffee encountered on the markets today. Colombia Eugenioides is considered to be one of the parents of modern Arabica coffee. Interestingly, it contains about half the caffeine of Arabica coffee, which causes the coffee to have almost no perceived bitterness. The defining characteristic of this coffee is its wild, almost unbelievable sweetness. It has a compelling lack of citric acidity that we are so used to in a coffee, presenting a whole new perspective on what coffee can be. And for me, this is my third time trying a Eugenioides coffee. I tried it in their last box set, as well as one from Archetype, and they have very interesting and defining flavor notes on all of their coffees. I did enjoy it last time. The Archetype was kind of interesting. They're all very interesting coffees, and this is the showcase from this box set, as this is the entire reason this Rare Varieties box set exists. I discovered this coffee, obviously, and went down there and wanted to try the other ones that came from that farm. So let's get the information out of the way so we can start discussing the coffee. Just brewed at my standard recipe, 16.67 to 1 at 204 degrees Fahrenheit through the Chemex. Again, it's an Onyx recipe. And Onyx themselves is a light medium American roast for the roast profile. With all of that out of the way, let's start discussing this coffee. This right here is day 17. Alright, day 9, my first impression of this coffee. And it did start out worryingly a little fermented at the start, but that tapered off pretty quickly. Pretty sweet, sugary, with some kind of marshmallow fluff and a mixed bag of gummies at the end. I don't like the description that I have on this first day of this coffee because I don't think it's very accurate or representative of how the coffee was. Those are the notes I have for day 9 though. Day 11, coffee smells of fresh strawberries and milk chocolate right out of the bag. And that is a great descriptor because the coffee smells beautiful when you're opening the bag and smelling the bag straight from the bag. At this moment, it definitely feels more like drinking a bag of sugar, and that's going to be the theme throughout this coffee, is it's a super sugary cup of coffee. A bit of lemon to go in it as well, and super sugar sweet forward with a bit of lingering red berries. And that's going to be, again, the theme of this coffee, super sugary, definitely a lot of red berries. I got a little bit more raspberry than strawberry. They describe it, I believe, as strawberry jam on the coffee itself, but it's a little bit more of a raspberry for me. Definitely strong red berries. Day 13, got a little bit more of that fermented anaerobic taste lingering in this coffee. There was a bit of chocolate, and this is probably my favorite part of this coffee, is the chocolate tasted very similar to M&Ms, and I love that description because I couldn't help but think of M&Ms when I was drinking it. Sugary and exotic fruity sweetness, tons of wild and interesting flavors, as well as a little bit of that foresty pine taste I was getting from the Geisha was present in this coffee as well. Day 15, artificial sugar dominating this coffee once again. Sweetness super strong, fruits had quite a noticeable taste to it as well. Some nice tropics, some nice citrus fruit, and the chocolate M&Ms in the finish. Again, really nice, best part about this coffee for me. Alright, let me go ahead and put up the tasting wheel so you can see what I was getting. And funny enough, I didn't actually read the information that they had provided in the book about these varieties, so it is perfectly fitting that the bitterness right here is low as possible. I think this is probably the least bitter coffee I have ever reviewed on this channel. I've had a lot of low bitterness coffees, but this one just has like almost none of it. And then the acidity is by far the lowest of any of the 3 coffees reviewed in this box set. Again, that's not really surprising. The sweetness, level 5, this is probably the sweetest cup of coffee I've ever had. It is super overly sugary sweet. The berry fruit also at a level 5. The strawberries and raspberries were the secondary most prominent thing in this coffee, and they were very pronounced. A little bit of citrus fruit, a little bit of stone fruit, chocolate at a level 3. It was M&M's, really nice. Pretty lingering finish. The cleanest of the 3 cups of coffee, and nothing too much else from this tasting wheel. I feel like this one looks slightly more normal than the other 2, but this one was almost as difficult as the geisha, and definitely more difficult than the Sudan Roume to come up with. Alright, my final thoughts and impressions of this coffee. So, as mentioned with the other 2, they had some very overly pronounced flavors. So that Sudan Roume was overly winey, the geisha was overly jasmine, and this one is overly sugary. If I could describe those 3 coffees in one word, those are the words that I'm giving for all 3 of them. And that makes it very easy to say, of those 3 types of descriptions, which one's my favorite? Well, jasmine, obviously. So the geisha was my favorite. This one was my second favorite, and the Sudan Roume was my least favorite. And for being the showcase coffee, it lives up to the hype in the sense that it's wild, unique, and so different from all the other coffees I've reviewed on this channel that it does merit its own special uniqueness. With all of that being said, this is not my favorite Onyx coffee of the year either, and neither was the geisha. My favorite Onyx coffee of the year was that Ferment Bombay Ethiopia, which I thought was spectacular. And that's where things get a little muddied. Is I've already said in the geisha video that I feel like these coffees would probably be my favorite coffees if they were done in a wash processing method, because these varieties are so rare, exotic, distinct, unique, that when they're done in that processing method, you'll probably get the more natural, amazing flavors that come from it in a more subtle way. When they've been anaerobic processed, they are so strong and pronounced that it almost feels, in a sense, a little over the top, a little much, a little extra for me. So that's why these 3 weren't my favorite, and that's not a knock on Onyx. I think Onyx is obviously tremendous. They already have one of my favorite coffees of the year, and I'm sure I'll have another coffee from them this year that will really kind of impress me to the standard that maybe that Ferment Bombay had, and so many of their other coffees in the past have done so as well. The type of person I would suggest this specific coffee to is somebody that does love a over-the-top sugary sweetness. I think the best way I really like this description that I just came up with. Maybe a red berry cereal with some extra sugar added to the red berry cereal. That seems like kind of the way this coffee comes off to me. Very interesting, unique, fun coffee. I'm glad I had this experience. Obviously, it was a very expensive box set, and it was kind of fun to do. And even if none of these coffees really impressed me as much as I might have hoped or expected, I still enjoyed the experience. I enjoy the experience every single time I do one of these super rare and interesting box sets or varieties or whatever the case may be. But I think I'm going to leave everything for what I had done at that. I'm curious to know your thoughts and impressions of not just this coffee, but the entire box set. If you might have tried it, if you've tried it, even a Eugenioides coffee, because they're so rare and hard to find. Your thoughts and impressions of all of that. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And this right here has been a review of the anaerobic natural processed Colombia Inmaculada Eugenioides from Onyx Coffee Lab.